So turn off the NURBS curves. And yeah, I would re-export. The other thing, now the first shot looks like it's in step mode, but in this one, it looks like you have a mix of things. So this feels like it's in spline, and then other parts are in stepped. Okay? Does that make sense, Alejandro?
Yes, but I don't know why that happened. I was trying to answer you, but my mic was off.
Ah, okay.
Yesterday I was trying to make it. I just forgot to turn off that, but
Okay,
I put everything in the step mode and continue doing that.
That's weird. So it looks like just some of the things are in step. Now, what I see is it looks like there is a key, right? So like everything drifts and there's a pop. So I'm assuming that this is a pose.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other pose we should have seen is this one, right? So there'd be a pose like this. Now, one thing I would change here is with this pose, the only change I would make is lift up the base so it tilts up on that side. And then you could tilt the head down a little bit more, have that tilt down. So that way it'll feel a little bit more like there's drag. Drag the head down this way, lift the base up off of the ground so it doesn't feel so flat, so it feels like it's being pulled up a little bit stronger. And you just need to make sure that it's completely in step mode. Okay. What's really critical is make sure when you want to go from spline or curved tangents to step mode is to save your poses. You need to select the entire character, the 3 controls, 1, 2, 3, and hit S, right, for each pose so that you make sure what you see in the graph editor are basically columns of points, right? So all the curves that are doing all their stuff and running through, you should see this. If you see something like this, where it's like this, and then, oh, there's another key, and then over here, there's kind of like a couple, that means that what you have here, this is like a held drawing. This is a complete pose. This is a complete pose, but this is a partial.
Okay.
So it would be the equivalent in 2D animation, like a piece of paper that you snuck in and just drew an elbow, right? Okay. And it would just be like, oh, why is that there? It's like, well, it's just a little, it's just the elbow needed a little drawing to help it move. But it will, when you go to step mode, what'll happen is the other things won't, like what's happening is they're drifting, right? They would in between to these other positions. But when you go to step mode, they don't have that. So what happens is you see this pose, and then over here you see like just the head move or an arm or something, but not the whole body. Okay. So make sure you grab the whole.
Yeah, I'm going back and I'm gonna.
Yeah. Okay, cool. But everything else looks good. I think the blocking is fine. Again, you can just change some of these positions if you'd like. Instead of having it bent back so far, I would probably tilt it more in the direction you're coming from. So always look at the arc and see if you can kind of line that up in the direction you're falling from. And I would probably do the same thing. I would tilt up the base, maybe like that, and then tilt the head back so that you have the base landing just on edge, and then it will clomp down, right? So the next frame, it'll clunk right onto the ground nice and firm. Okay?
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, everything else looks good. When you get to this point, what I would suggest is here, there's just a little bit of an arc issue. So like we can see you're going this way, and then all of a sudden it feels like you go this way and then this way. Right, so try and keep that arc running this way so that you jump from
I think
here.
it's the controller and the in the elbow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alex. Oh, Alex, do you have another shot? Because I only see one.
Yes, I think I submitted wrong video.
Okay, all right. I'll come back. Just remind me when I get to the end of the list, and then we'll grab that, okay?
Okay, so can I submit it right now? So...
Yeah, make sure you submit them in there, and I'll go grab it after, okay? Andre. Okay, looking all right. That's good. So the only change I would make here is when you get to this point, I would try to get the lamp looking more 3/4 so that it feels like it's pointing this way. When I look at some of these poses, it looks like a side view. They're looking over here. So adjust the pose so they're jumping forward. Does that make sense? So more like 3/4 front.
Looking down?
Well, right now this is almost a side view. So it feels like the lamp is looking here, but they should be looking more in terms of depth. They should be moving this way. So what we want to do is plan, right, for that jump to go in space. All right. So right now,
Yeah.
again, they're still looking here. So they should be looking towards camera. Okay. Posing, I think you could probably, I would recommend straighten the neck of the lamp just for the one pose, just for the stretch pose. But you have the right idea. It's just, I would just change this again to get the 3/4 in there. Keep the head up, but just make sure it's a 3/4 pose. Yeah, looking good. Daniela. So here, I think this little movement feels very quick. So watch the timing. So here you have like the head goes up and then down. And I don't know if you have enough time for that. So it kind of one frame up and then it goes down. So when you get this into spline, what you might notice is this part will feel, instead of movement, it'll feel like something grabbed the lamp's head and shook it. It might feel more violent than what the lamp could do, what you would believe. Okay?
Okay.
So what I would recommend is if you're trying to do a little anticipation, it's a good idea to go up, but maybe just reduce the amount. So if you're going from here to here, right, that amount of change, right? So if you think about like that's the height change, well, back it off, cut it in half or cut it in quarter and just do a slight antic if you don't have enough time. Okay?
Yep.
Yep, everything else looks good. Carry on. If you want, with the ball, it's moving in a straight line. You could try to add a little bit of wobble as it rolls down, just slightly. So it doesn't feel like it's just on a monorail. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Texture. Make sure to figure out the texture for the ball. Okay, David? For the jumps. Yeah, that'll work. I think it's spline. I think the only thing I would try to do is with the poses here, the stretch pose, try to straighten the neck a little bit more, and you can tilt the head down, right? So it really feels that there's drag. So as you push up, the head snaps down. This feels a bit high to me, so you're kind of hitting the top of frame and getting cut off. So try to balance it as well. If you think about where you were over here, then you're up over here, and then you're up over here. The triangle isn't very symmetric, so you might want to adjust the high point a little to kind of match where you're going. And I would probably, instead of going that high up, bring the character down a little. Okay? You could get a better silhouette if you moved the neck out to the side a little bit like that. Same idea, but just make sure you get the profile view a little bit more, right? So it's 3/4. The neck right now is kind of a front view, so move it more to a 3/4. And same note here when you jump. Again, make sure that when you land, I would probably push the head down a little bit more. So you have the head still pointing 3/4. You get the neck to kind of boom out this way. And then when you stretch up, then you really tilt the head down, right? So now it's kind of pointing out this way. Lift off there, and then jump up into the air. Okay, David, does that make sense? Let me check. Oh, geez, sorry, I hit the wrong button. Pardon me, trying to hit the chat button. There we are. Did I hear anyone? Okay. Was David there? Did you hear my notes, David? Did they make sense? Is David here? No?
Breakout room, maybe?
Ah, okay. Well, it's on the recording. Okay, did it?
Yeah.
Okay. So just for a little part here, it felt like this is not in step mode because I can see there's stuff moving every frame. So just watch this chunk here, this movement. It needs to be in stepped. So what I would hang on to is you need like this pose, there's your antic, right? And then for the stretch pose, I would probably tilt the base up, tilt the head down, and then you would just hang on to this pose, right? That would be up in the air and then over here. What I might suggest here is the head of the lamp, it kind of flattens out, so it kind of stays here. So what I would do is take this pose and just lift the whole thing up, just so that the head will continue to gain in height, and you just kind of tuck the landing gear underneath. Okay?
Yeah, like put the base up.
Yeah, grab everything. So just grab the head, the base, and the neck, and just translate it up. Just shove it up just a little bit higher, because that way the head of the lamp will keep going up, as opposed to right now it feels like it kind of hits a plateau like that.
Okay. Why did it happen that at the beginning it didn't have step mode? And
Not sure. So it must be that for whatever reason in that area, it didn't get hit with the step mode tangents. So double check and have a look in there. It just means that in that chunk, it's not in stepped, it's in spline.
yeah, maybe I didn't select that chunk.
If you grab all the controls and then go to the graph editor, select all the curves and hit step mode, it should work, but sometimes it doesn't stick. You have to kind of hit it again and just double check, because other places it's in step mode, so it worked, right? And you can see there's even a couple places here where you see like from here to here, there's like just a couple things moving. So here the base is moving and the head kind of stays in the same spot, and then now the base is frozen.
Yeah.
So it looks in here, this is where I was talking about partial keys. So what I would try to hang on to is your main key poses. So this one, then your high point, then your stretch pose, right? Those would be my 3 basic keys, there to there to there. Okay? And then you could just delete the other ones. All right, Diego. I think with the jumps, it feels like the base, right? It feels almost like, again, this almost feels like they're stuck. You can't jump, I can't jump, right? So it feels like the base is just locked there for too long. So what you need to do, tilt that up. And then what I would do is, you know, this is held for timing. I would just add a little breakdown. You could probably lift this one up a little bit higher, and to make it a little bit more active, what I would do is rotate it a little bit more as well. So you have something more like this, right? So it feels like the character is coming from a jump, right? So the landing gear is underneath, and they're gonna bring it forward to land, okay? And the landing as well, make it more active, hit with just the edge of the base, nice straight, tilt the head up, and then compress down, okay? So that pattern exists throughout all the jumps. So just make the stretch poses stronger, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, it's working pretty good. See the chat firing up there. Everything okay? Oh, I don't know, Flora. Did people get stuck in the breakout room?
Looks like David Avila is in the breakout room, but the other David's
Let's
on.
see. So if I
might
go,
listen.
can I go look at the participants and then I can bring him back? Let's see. It's David, right? Can't find him in the list. Maybe he disappeared. Let's see. He must have clicked on the button. No, he's not listed in the list. Maybe he left the meeting. Huh. Do you want to try checking Discord and see if you can reach out to him and say, come on back? Let's try that. Okay. So I'm looking at now, this is Dominique. Yeah. Okay. Oh, one thing, Dominique, you use Premiere, right?
No, I use After, but this is my second version. The first one has the aspect ratio, the correct aspect ratio.
See, I don't see it in the list here.
Yeah, I sent it in the format MP4.
Oh, that's why. Okay. Okay, I'll come back and grab it. But yeah, when you're using After Effects, a couple things to watch out for. It will default to 2997.
Okay.
The frame rate. So double check that. The other thing is with the settings, you got to be careful as well. You see this weird artifacting here? This is when you use NTSC as a standard. So NTSC, which is the older format, it has these scan lines. What we want is progressive, right? Progressive scan. So what you should use for your presets when you make a project is go for digital video 24, right? So it should be 24p, so it's true 24. And that way when you're editing, it won't do any of this weird artifacts, okay?
Okay.
So older formats, old TV, right? Used to run at 60 hertz. And what would happen is all the odd lines would fire once, and then the even lines on the TV would fire once. So on average, it was hitting 30, or technically 29.97. So that's where you get these weird artifacts, because it's the odd lines and the even lines getting stuck. So
Okay.
that's a telltale sign of, oops, we're using the older format, okay? And it's usually the default when you open up After Effects or Premiere, kind of defaults to that. So I'll have a look at the new submission after, all right? Okay, Dylan.
Ew.
Hello. I think everything's working okay. The only thing I would suggest is the jump feels a bit sharp in terms of angle. So it's a very acute angle. We're trying to think of the depth, right?
Yeah.
It's a very flat parabola. So what I would recommend you do is use a bit more depth and just push this, just rotate this out so you get them to land over here, to use more depth, and then get them to jump up over here, okay?
Yeah,
So-
I was just trying to make it so the base landed in frame, but
Oh, yeah, no, I think that's okay. I think it's just it's very compressed. It feels like we're running forward more than off to the side. And here we want to just use a bit more of the space. So
Okay.
the posing and everything's working okay. The only thing I would change is I would try to keep the head down just at the beginning of the jump, just to show a bit of
Right.
drag, right? So it snaps down when you're going up, and then this is correct. When you go like this, that's good.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking the opposite of his
Yeah.
head was the lead going up.
And especially here with this one, it feels more like we're going up, but we're not propelling diagonally up, right? So you want to make sure that you're jumping in the direction you're going to go. So hopefully if you move that over, it'll give you an easier parabola to work with. The arc won't be so sharp and so acute and more range to work with. Okay,
Cool.
everything else is looking good. Okun. All right. That's looking good. One thing you could do here is the base right now, it feels like it's almost like 3/4, almost a side view. What you might try is pushing this back into the picture plane. So it would be 3/4 front. Okay, so right now, the elbow, right? I don't know if you can see me. It's like I'm pointing myself at the camera, but I have no idea if it's gonna work. When you look at the camera, right? Like the elbow is pointed towards. What I want you to do is tilt it back like that. So it's like taking that control, and right now it's turned towards camera. So it feels like the head and the neck are pointing in the same direction. What I would do is uncurve that. So it feels like as the head moves, the neck moves. Okay? Is that clear? I hope so, Okun.
Apparently he's in the other room, I think.
Oh no. Any luck rescuing people from the room floor? Should I just close the breakout room? Let me just see.
I don't know, but I don't think it works.
Let's see. What can I do? It says unassigned. Sheet not joined. I can get them out. Ah. Yeah, I'm just gonna close all the rooms. There we go. I'll just force everybody to stay here until we're done. Okay. All right, bring everybody back. It was a good idea, but it didn't quite work. Okay, yeah, pose is looking okay. The only thing I would do here, Okun, is just lift the head up a little bit more on the way down. Just have a bit more drag. There's a couple of poses. This one, right? The head's turned the wrong way. So you just need to rotate it more this way. So that's the right angle. This feels like, again, a very abrupt change, right? So I think I would just delete that there. And then for the landing, what I would try to do here, right here, you can see that the neck is quite twisted. It should be that it's like this, right? So that cylinder is like that, you got that. And then I would just tilt the head up. Make
Mhm.
it feel that as you
Yep.
fall, right, your head would snap back. Okay, and then as you hit
Yep.
the ground, then you would bounce up and turn around. And what you might want to do with the ball is if you want, you could have the ball roll down and it could go out to the side a little bit. If it feels like, because it almost feels like here, the lamp could just stay right here and it would be safe. I'll just roll past. So you might want to just have the ball just move over a little bit so that it still feels like the lamp is in danger of being crushed and has no choice but to run. Okay?
Okay. Yep.
Israel. So texture, make sure texture is turned on. So here, there's a bit of a jump. So we're looking at the ball and now we're looking forward. So remember when you get to animating, what you have to do at the end of shot one. So in shot one, you have to start going to the antic. So you want to start the head turn here and then catch it over here, get to the antic pose, and then start jumping.
The thing is, when you see it in spline, it actually turns at the end of the first shot. It gets on action, but when I put it on step, it looked like that.
Okay.
I don't know why, but
hopefully what you can do,
good.
what you can probably do is just go in there and just let the computer drive between those two keys and then pick a point that you like, hit S, and then adjust the pose just to show that we're starting to move across the cut. Okay? But you're going into spline anyway, so as long as you can fix it in spline, that's fine with me.
Yes, in spline it actually got on action, but when I turn into step, it looked like that. I didn't know how to fix
okay.
it.
With the ball, it feels a little bit like the ball, it comes straight, then it, boom, it goes over. So it feels a little bit abrupt, the change in direction. So I would just avoid having these sharp turns. It does feel a little bit like kind of a ball in a pinball machine, like, right? So it feels like it's getting energy from somewhere. So what I would suggest is if it's going to go straight down, then have it roll over, but maybe take more time. It feels like it moves very quickly. So you need to ease out. All right.
Okay.
And especially at the very end, it feels like it kind of rolls off screen a little abruptly as well. It kind of like picks up speed going that way. Okay.
Okay. So the step and the spline, it's okay, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Ivan, you got to turn off NURBS. So resubmit a new one so that you don't lose points, and you need the texture on the ball.
I already made a new one.
Oh, good. Okay. So I'll come back to that one then. Should I wait or can I comment on this? Has there been any other updates or it's the same animation?
Yes, I also moved some poses.
Okay. All right. I'll have a look at the new one then once I get through the list. Okay.
Thanks.
Come back. June. So we need the texture. Yeah, looking good. I think just one of the jumps, I'm wondering if you might want to just push the character up a little bit higher. If you look at the height of the lamp here and then here, it really doesn't feel like it goes up very high. So I would just take the whole pose and just lift it up. So you might have, maybe something like this, just to get a bit more height. So it really feels that this height and this one, right, aren't so similar. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Everything else is looking pretty good. So yeah, just make sure you get the texture on the ball, please. Okay, Jimmy. So I think here, get a stronger anticipation pose. I think we need a pose where we're way down like this, right? Just preparing to jump. Make that stronger. Because here you have very little contrast, right? But if you go down further, you'll really get a good sense of jump. Okay, that we're leaping into the air. This pose here, because this is flat and this isn't bent very much, it feels like the desk lamp on a desk as opposed to in the air. So what I would try to do is play a little bit with the rotations. Have the head of the lamp looking down, crunch the neck a little bit closer, pull this back, use depth so it feels a little bit more 3/4 than just a straight flat view, just to make it feel more that it's in movement, a little more dynamic, okay? This looks okay. You might, again, depending on the arc, this does feel a little bit like we're pointing here, but we're coming from there. So you might want to just adjust the pose a little bit when you get into spline, just to make sure that it lines up from where you're coming from. Okay? Same note here, stronger antic, push the lamp down when it lands much lower, and that'll give you good contrast. Here, the stretch pose is pointing here, but we need to go there. Same note about up in the air. You could do the same thing that I drew before, make the pose more dynamic and less like it's sitting on a desk, right? And that's throughout. So just a little bit of pose tweaks to make those poses stronger. Okay?
Okay.
Cool. John. So here, they're looking more side. So change the pose, crunch them down a little bit more, but keep it 3/4 front, right? This feels a little bit closer to the side view. So keep it 3/4 front. So we feel that we're looking front, we're going forward, we're not looking to the side at all. Okay. Same note about feeling very, very flat. Doesn't feel like it's jumping, right? Use angles, tuck in the base, compress the neck of the lamp, get a better pose. The landing, you need to put in a stretch pose, right? Then get to the antic pose. So this feels more like kind of the basic chess piece blocking that I was doing last week. You need to do more work on the posing to put it into spline, okay? This is good for just initial blocking, but the poses aren't quite communicating as well as they could. So I would try to block in the stretch pose, right? Get the stretch pose in there, then figure out what the squash pose is gonna be like. And then figure out how I'm gonna get the neck and the head to kind of boom around, right? And then how that's gonna lead me into the next pose. Okay, so a little bit more work there before you start splining. If you don't put those other details in there, spline is gonna be real messy and floaty. So you gotta add some more details. All right. And then watch out here, again, when you get into spline, the ball is killing the lamp a little bit. So as long as you keep the lamp timed a little bit more quickly, or you push the ball back in space a little bit, give it more time to roll to the front, you should be okay. Caitlin. Texture, turn the texture on.
Yeah, I tried turning it on, but I don't know, it wasn't working.
Oh. Well, see if you can go in the outliner, grab the geo, and then go to the outliner and see where is the texture connected to, and it should be there. If it's a project and it's been set, it should go looking in the source images. So I don't know why it isn't, but you should be able to remap it as long as you have the texture file, okay?
Okay, I'll try that.
Very odd. So with the first jump, right, what I would do here, this almost looks more like, you know, when you see a good sale at a window. Whoa, right? That TV is 50% off. So it doesn't feel like they're jumping. It feels more like a, wow, right? But you want to get that to be a jump. So tilt them up on the lip here. And I think going up more than to the side, definitely lift them up higher. This is a very shallow jump. And it feels more like they're trying to just sort of do a little skip off to the side rather than jump up and then land in depth, okay? So you got to tilt the character a bit more 3/4 front because they are favoring the side view a little bit more, the profile view. Okay. Same note here, right? Pose is good. You could probably just tilt this down a little to break it off of the horizontal, but lift it up, right? Put the ball way up here, right? So we get a nice big arc. And then when they land, you can put in that stretch pose so we know where we're coming from, right? So we can see that we landed and then get to this point. Okay, but you want to make sure you're much higher up. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
And then here, watch out for this, this transition. We should use the momentum we've got and then arc the head this way. So instead of being here, what I would do is keep the head low, right? And the neck booms over, and that will lead you into the next stretch pose. Okay? Make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
And I think that last jump, again, same note, up high, right? And get out of shot. Just that you use as much space as possible. Martin. Okay, so this is just a little bit off of like the example. Luckily, we can still see the character, but they're supposed to be more centered. When we cut over here, right? This kind of framing means that I'm looking at the right side of screen, and then over here I have to really jump far over the left side of screen. Before, with them being centered when they were here, right, the cut from here to here, right, is not as big a deal for your eyes to go from there to there as opposed to being all the way over here. So what I might do is just adjust the start position, and this is pretty easy. You just go in the graph editor, grab all of these, and you just need to slide all the points over in probably Z, right? Maybe a mix of X and Z, but hopefully it's mostly either Z or, no, maybe it's not Z, it's probably X. X is probably doing this. And you just need to adjust the start position, just one pose, right? Everything that's here, and that'll make it a little bit easier, okay? Then the jump, you need to do the antic, right? So you need to do the squash, stretch, the high point, again, adjust the pose so that you compress things and make it look more dynamic, right? This is more like the chess piece blocking. So it's okay for basic, but the other thing that's missing here is step mode.
Yeah, those are the two things that I needed to speak with you, because when I tried to apply stretch and squash, the object for some reason deformed. And when I tried to apply step mode, instead of giving me the bopping sequence, it would completely flat out squash, and then one piece would go one side, and then afterwards the top part. So it was kind of weird.
Okay.
I tried doing the gimbal fix. I even redone the entire animation, but same results.
We'll have a look at the file, okay? So later on, we'll share your screen and we'll see what it can do, okay?
All right.
So yeah, more blocking on just the poses to hopefully get that antic, squash, stretch, and jump, and then control also the angle of the character. So you're having it facing to the left and then facing to the right and moving across the screen, okay? Nicole. Looking good. Yeah, not too much. The only thing is just pay attention to this. Sometimes when you have the lamp pulled back that far, you might want to just adjust it a little bit, just slightly. Once you get this off of step mode, right, this might feel that it feels like we're coming from a different angle, right, as opposed to this where you might believe, oh, that's that parabola there, okay? Minor thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, looking good. Who's this? This was Nicole, right? Okay. Sophia. So texture, make sure texture gets figured out. Yeah, that's looking good. I would just straighten the neck completely, get a nice big straight line, minor fix. And then here when you jump, right, I think the angle, this feels really like steep. So it feels like they're kind of pushed too far over. I would try to angle them up just a little bit more. Right, just a slight difference, and sort of just look at how the shape of the lamp lines up with the arc you're trying to create, right? Somewhere in this zone, right? It feels like this feels too far forward, okay? It feels like a bull about to charge, okay? That's what it feels like, neck forward. That makes sense, Sophia?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, good. And Tom. You're missing something, Tom. I don't know what it is. What are you missing?
No, it's because I exported it in 2 parts.
Ah, yeah, I see that here. You're also missing in shot 2. What is the lamp running from? The ball!
I'm missing the ball, yeah. But can I export like that, or because I don't know, I have that doubt. It's okay?
Oh yeah, no, you can leave the ball is just there for basic timing. The other thing here is this is not in stepped mode. So you have to make sure that's in step mode.
What?
Yeah. Sorry, just 1 second here, guys. I have to take this call just briefly. Sorry, guys. I'm waiting to get the vaccine call, right? And I keep thinking every number that shows up is going to be the vaccine, but it's just people trying to scam me out of money. So my apologies there. All right.
That's a shame, but yeah.
Yep. Step mode. So just make sure this part is in step mode. Okay, Tom?
I'm not sure I understood.
What you should do is grab the character and hit S, and then there's another one up here, right? So this would be like your stretch pose. So we should just see the keys. So right now I see movement on every frame. So that's on ones, every frame there's movement. In step mode, we would only see the keys. We would see no in-betweens.
Okay, I see.
Yep.
So, but
so in the graph editor, your keys will look like this. They'll look like staircases.
So should I submit that? Should I submit that it in step? I mean, do I have to do it in step mode for the final submission too?
Oh, just for this one, for the work in progress, step mode, because I wanted to just see your key poses. So
I see. I didn't get that.
Yeah, so that's okay. So what you can do is just go back and find all your keys. So there's a key, great. Go find your antic pose, right? Grab that, hit S. Then you have your stretch pose, hit S, and then here, high point S.
No, the thing is that I have a lot of in between keys, you know, because I also
delete them all. Just delete them after you go and set your keys. This is like you have to reverse engineer the step mode blocking. So in the timeline, you'll have like all these ticks, right, for all the keys. You just need to find your keys and say, that's a key, that's a key, that's a key, and just make sure you hit S for the whole character so that the entire pose is saved, and then you just go delete all of these.
Yeah,
and then resubmit.
Okay, and you can't say anything about this, or?
Nope. Oh,
okay.
It's called reverse engineering. Okay, so you have until today to kind of make these little fixes, because otherwise, when it's graded, we have to take points off because it's not in step mode because part of the criteria.
Of course, but I was wondering if it was like okay or like.
Oh no, it's totally legal, right? Because you've already done the work. It's just you did more. So now all you have to do is just do less, right? So it's you just have to subtract from your submission and hand in a more primitive state of the animation where it's just the keys. Okay?
Yeah,
so
makes
don't
sense.
worry. And don't worry, it's not called cheating. It's called winning. Don't worry about it. Okay. That makes sense, Tom?
Yeah.
And then add the ball.
Yeah, of course. No, I would like just have maybe some comments about the animation, but if you can't, it's okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's looking okay. The only thing that I see animation-wise is when you jump up, one thing that happens is you jump up and it feels more like you're going up than you're going this way. So it feels a bit like a corner, like a soft corner. And if you look at the spacing, you go up and then all of a sudden the character accelerates. So it feels like strong wind, right? So it's like jumping into a breeze and then you get pushed. So watch the spacing, because the spacing clusters very closely here, right? Barely moving. And then you accelerate here, right? Especially if you look at the base, right? Look at the spacing change there versus here, right? It barely changes. So that you want to make sure you check. So that would be looking at Z and X. Those would be straight lines.
Okay.
So what you would do is you look in the graph editor and say, okay, this point, right? So from frame 37 all the way until here, till frame 53. So 37 to 53 for the base and the head and the neck, that would be straight lines. So you could literally set a key at 37, and then you set a key over at 53, and whatever those numbers are, right? So for X or for Z, right? Whatever those are, those will be straight lines. Okay, that will give you constant speed. In Y, you will have your curve.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to slow down right at the high point. But for X and Z, there's nothing that should slow them down unless there's really strong wind, right? So we just would assume it's a straight line to make life easy. And that way it will move evenly. It makes the parabola behave properly. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So should I like delete all the keys between the two 37 and 53 and then make a straight line and re-key everything, right?
Yeah, then you can go hit S and put the keys back in place where you need them.
Because sometimes when I do that, it's just broke everything, you know?
Yeah, make sure, what you need to do is make sure that you hit S on the key poses. So you want to make sure that you key the entire character, because if you forget, when you hit the delete button, you might be deleting some important information. So what happens is when you have kind of a graph editor where it's a bit of a mixed bag, is that when you delete stuff, all of a sudden everything had curves running through it, right? And everything's fine. But when you delete, all of a sudden you remove parts that no longer are there. So what'll happen here is everything moves, and then here just one thing moves. So you might just have the head just jumps out of nowhere, and the rest of the character stays behind because it has no data at that point.
Exactly that.
So what you have to do is hit S. So I just look at the timeline and look at all my keys, and I just hit S. Everywhere I grab the whole character, I hit S. Every place I see keys. So I have walls of keys, right? So it's just columns of points in lines. Then I know that everything I have is going to be there when I hit the delete button. So if I have points here and if I have points here, if I delete anything in the middle, it has no effect. This is okay and that's all right because I've locked in the pose. I've basically created a drawing. So I've etched in the character in that place by hitting S. It has no choice but to live there. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the important part. Okay? All right. Wushik. Cute little performance there. No. My only suggestion here is probably I would turn the rotation down a little bit. Okay, Wushik? This may look okay in step mode, but when you spline it, it's probably really going to be, it feels like it's too strong. So just like make it a little bit more subtle. So just no. All right.
So the no part to just make more subtle?
Yeah. So just reduce the amount of rotation. So what you'll see in the graph editor, if this is like a rotate Y, what you'll see is it'll be something like this, where you start somewhere, you go to the right, you go to the left, you go to the right, you go to the left, right? It'll be some sort of like mix like this. So all you have to do is just grab all these points and just scale them in, right? So it's just a smaller amount of rotation. Bring everything closer.
And also the intro part, just rotation down, right?
Yeah.
Is too up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's looking okay. Just turn down the rotation. And then for the jump, that's looking okay. I think the landing, this feels just very vertical, right? So it doesn't feel like we're falling from here. So I would just adjust the pose like that. So have the character looking up, so you drag their head up and just tilt, right? Just change the angle, right? So instead of it being almost a vertical line, it's tilted back in the direction you came from. Okay. This landing, this is very close to the ground. So what I would try to do is keep the head up a little bit higher on the way through. It just feels like it's basically scraping on the floor, right? So just try to lift it up a little bit more, okay?
So head lift it up.
Yeah, this feels a bit low to the ground, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little. And what you could probably do, it feels like all of your points, if you kind of track the sphere, right? It kind of holds a little bit and it feels like it's a bit low, right? And then here, but look at this point and say, okay, that's where I'm trying to get to. So what I want to do is I want to have my animation so that I follow some kind of arc like this. This feels a bit abrupt. And again, part of that is step mode, but especially right in here, it feels a bit more like this, right? So we can hit a place like that. When you get to spline, what you want to look is, okay, I want to round this out a little bit, and that might change some of my keys. I might take this one and move it down, and I might take this one and move it up, just so that you have an arc, okay?
Yeah, but like when I keep looking at the visualization part, it keeps showing me the curve to me. So I keep don't understand why it keeps showing like this.
It might be because it's in step mode.
Okay.
That might be what's doing that. So when you get to spline, just watch that arc, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. And then the landing here, again, this feels a bit vertical. I would try to tilt back and I would probably lift the head up a little bit more and then land. Here, you're really close to these cones, right? So just double check, make sure that you're not going to crash into them. Hopefully, if they're just in front, then there's no issue, but it does feel really close.
It doesn't have an issue about that part.
Okay, good, great, that's fine. If you were worried you know, you could always take this pose and you could just slide the lamp over a little bit. If you wanted to just give yourself a bit more room, you could, but that's up to you. As long as it's not crashing, that's fine.
Well, I have a quick question. My jumping apart is too high because the length is too long to me, I think. I'm not sure about that.
You could try. What I would do here is you could keep this pose like that and then just bend the neck a little bit more. So you may not have to change the height. It would just be bending the neck down a little bit. So you can try to bring it down, but it didn't bug me the first time I saw it. It looks okay, right? Yeah, maybe it's better. Maybe you could keep the head tilted down just a little bit to show that the lamp is trying to look for a landing. And then you could just bring the landing gear underneath a little bit. So you could try something like that. So you could just take the base and move it up a little.
Sure.
Now, not looking good.
Thank you.
Okay. Isuke, where are we here? Cool. So I think you could do a stronger anticipation. So, oh, you did. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I thought I missed that one. There we go. So that's good. What I might do here is when you put the head really close to where the base attaches, then this kicks up really high. So what you could do is you could compromise and move it forward a little bit.
Okay.
Right. So just that way, this doesn't sort of, I'm worried when you get really close, sometimes the elbow will freak out because you get really close to where the pull vector is trying to line up for the IK handle and cause some weirdness here on the elbow.
Okay.
And then this, I would just make sure, again, keep it 3/4 as much as you can. So we really feel that this feels like we're looking off to the side. I would prefer that we look more to the front.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's looking good. Again, you could just turn it more towards camera, right? So we're not looking off to the side, just a bit more 3/4 view. The jump's looking all right. You could straighten this up a little bit more if you want, get the neck really straight. And I might tilt the head down, right, to really show that drag. And then when you get up here, there's two poses here where it feels like they're almost the same. So I'm assuming only one of these is the key and the other one is kind of in betweening. So just watch that the head doesn't stay in one place. It basically stays in the same place and the base keeps moving. Everything needs to keep moving, both the base and the head. Okay, and the same thing here. This is turned too far to the side, so keep it more 3/4. Okay?
Okay.
3/4. Same thing with this. That way it feels like we're moving forward. Oh, one last little thing. Watch the ball. You see the ball slows down. So what's happening is you have a start frame and an end frame. And what Maya does is an ease in, which will slow it down. For the ball, keep it in linear, straight line.
Oh, okay, linear.
So that way the ball does not speed up or slow down in terms of going forward, right? As it comes towards camera, it should have a constant speed, right? Otherwise it feels like it just slows down, right? Just at the last frame. And that's because Maya's default auto tangents will do that. It'll just automatically ease out or start easing in at the last frame. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, and Dominique. Was there an update, Dominique, that I need to go grab, or this was the update? Did I already grab it?
Was the MP4 that I talked about it?
Yes, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the MP4? Yep, MP4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a couple places, if you look here, this is in stepped, so the base is in step mode, but in this zone, then all of a sudden it goes into spline. So look out here. There's just like a little bit of drifting going on, then we go to this key. What I would try to do, I think if I was to animate this, I would say, hang on to this pose, but this pose you don't need. I would get rid of it. This one works. They're just looking, right? And you don't need them to look even more forward. They've already turned. So I would just have them look up and then use that time to prepare and go down. This will feel like an abrupt push. It will feel like something just hits the back of the head and slides forward very quickly. So I would pick only one pose. So if you want, use this one or this one, but not both. It's time to have both. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Jump's looking good. My only note would be you could probably lift the character up higher. So you could just take the whole character, you could keep the base there, move the head up, but it'd be nice to get just a bigger jump. You got the room, so you could push the character up a little bit more here to get to the stretch pose. That's looking good. Again, make sure, remember when you get to spline, arc the head around. And then here, don't have them jump here. I think from this point, you're doing one extra jump that you don't need to. So what you can do is just have them jump and go off screen. Right, so from this point, just keep the lamp moving forward and get them to go off screen. Okay, you don't need to have this extra jump. So it's more work and it's not part of the assignment. You've already done enough. Okay?
Okay.
Less work is always good, right? Excellent. Okay, good. And then the ball feels a little bit quick. It's kind of cute. It really feels like it's kind of skidding out of control. So it's got some fun movement on there, but it feels like it's alive, right?
Okay.
Right? It feels like a kid on the playground, right? You know, chasing down, you know, the bully. Come here, you little son of a. I'm like, oh my God. So
okay.
the ball feels like it's on a mission to like, I will destroy you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. So it's cute, but we want to make sure it doesn't feel alive. It feels very light. Okay? Yeah. So it's very cool, very dynamic, but yeah, we'd have to, yeah, no, it's just a ball, right? Not a vehicle. But,
so I need to slow the velocity or to make it more heavy.
I
look
think,
like more
I think what you have to do, like I think the distance coming forward, you don't have to change. So that's the translate Z, right? This distance going into the picture plane, that's okay. But it's the amount of left and right. And at the very beginning, I think it's bouncing and skidding, right? So it feels like, if you ever go bowling and there's one kid that throws the ball in a bad way, it kind of goes, right? So it kind of skips. That's what it feels like. It feels like a drunk uncle playing bowling. Right? It's like, all of a sudden.
Okay.
So yeah, you've all been there, right? In the bowling alley with beer and yeah, coordination not being what it should be. It feels like it's going and skidding here and all of a sudden it just slides. So it feels like it's being controlled and pushed around. It doesn't feel like a gravity bound object. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really cool. I hate to tell you to change it, but it's just, yeah, it's not part of the assignment. So. But it would make for a fun director's cut, right? Right. You could kill the lamp, just have it hit it like a bowling pin. Just like, boom. Okay. All right. Cool. Okay, now we've gone a little bit past 2:30, but what I'll do, there were a few people that I didn't get to, so I'm going to carry on and go. The rest of class, if you would like to take a break, please feel free to. I just want to get a head count and make sure I have the right files. Who has not had their assignment reviewed? Who's still waiting?
I just resubmit my video.
Alex, so you have an update?
Alex, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I have it too.
And then who else? Alex Zhang and Alex Durand, was that right?
Yeah, I think it's just the yeah.
This one?
The second one. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so it's not two files. There we go.
Yeah.
And anyone else?
I also uploaded another version.
Okay. Who was that just spoke? Sorry, that was
Ivan.
Ivan. Now, do I need both videos or just the second one?
Just the second one.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm working to also need, so I will submit it after the break.
Okay, sure. No worries, Tom. That's fine. Anyone else? While I'm queuing them up. Anyone else who missed review? All good? Okay. All right. Oh, I see the chat window firing. Is anything going on? Adam. Okay, Adam.
I'll probably resubmit it so you can let me know what changes are good and what needs to be changed.
Okay. Adam, is it number 1 here? I'm assuming it's number 1. Yep, looks like it's the right date and timestamp. Okay. So Martin, if you don't mind, we'll wait until we have a look at your file. Okay, so after I get a little break, then we can open up your scene file and have a look what's going on.
All right, I'm gonna start doing the tweaks in the meantime.
Okay.
I'll probably have to ask your help for this step mode because, you know, that's the thing that I wasn't able to get done.
No problem.
All right.
Let's go sequence. Okay, so we got here Alex Zhang. Now, there we go, number 2. Okay, I think everything's working good in shot 1. I think right in here, there's a part where it's not stepped mode. So right in here, you need to make sure that that's step mode. Other parts are stepped, so that's good, that's stepped. But in here, that is still not in step mode. When you get to your keys, I think the most important thing is to make sure you have like the strongest keys. So I think this is a much stronger pose than this one, that works, but the base is coming off the ground. So what I would do is I would probably combine these 2 poses. So I would borrow the neck and head from the next pose and put that on this one. So you kind of jump from here to here. And then when you get to the high point, again, look at the height of the head, right? It's very similar. So I would take this whole pose and move it up. So you have this and you're trying to figure out, well, where am I gonna land? So you would probably put the high point up a little bit more so that when you land based on your target, you get a little bit more depth. It feels like there's more energy. Right now it feels like a very low energy jump and it doesn't feel like they're scared. Same thing over here. This is a bit better. We get a little bit higher up, but the pose could be stronger. So again, straight line, tilt the head down, right? Really make it feel like we're jumping and this rotates down. Then we get to the high point. You could experiment with moving this up a little bit more. So you could take the whole thing and move it up just a little bit more. And then the landing works. And again, same thing here. This feels like we're not jumping with as much energy, right? So really kind of aim where you want to go and make sure that they feel like they go off screen. Okay, Alex?
Yeah, okay. So basically make this the move stronger, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
so a little bit more height and improve the poses to have a little bit stronger lines of action in them. Okay?
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, and Alejandro. Okay, so there's
beautiful.
a few parts that are still spline. So that's stepped, but then this is not stepped. So there's a little chunk in here where it's moving on ones, just the lamp. So just got to lock that down. What I would do here is this pose, I would probably just tilt the base up, right, just to get a stronger change. And then watch the arc. If you look at where this is, it actually goes a little bit this way and then goes that way. So what will happen is your arc will have a little bit of a bend in it. So what I would rather do is work with that first pose, right? So once we adjust it and kind of tilt up and make sure that that's the arc that we're gonna find. Okay, everything else is looking okay, pose-wise. Again, there's a few places where we get out of stepped mode. So watch in here, this is splining, not stepped mode, because we can see the transitions. Then we go to step mode. And again, the landing pose, I think I would try to arch the neck back a little bit more. Yeah, don't worry. After the break, I'll have a look at your shot too and see what we can do to fix it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing here. What I would try to do is if you look at the sphere, right, the light bulb, that should lead us into the jump. But what happens is we kind of loop around and we actually go in the opposite direction. So what I would prefer is to use that to sort of swoop forward. But there's a little bit, you put a little bit of an S curve in here. So what happens is you get this. And I would adjust this so you get a cleaner line, a cleaner arc. So just taking this and just moving it over. And then hopefully that would give you maybe your stretch pose. And then you'd be up in the air. Okay?
Okay.
And then same thing here, watch out for this. We're here, and then we go almost straight down. And this feels almost like Tarzan swinging on a vine. It feels like the lamp is swinging forward, but it should jump.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's in the middle. It's doing something that doesn't feel like a jump. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Ivan. So here, Ivan, the only thing, this looks like we're looking too far to the side. They should look a little more forward. Just adjust it slightly so it's favoring the front view a little more, just because that's where the ball is. Okay?
Okay.
So it's still for 3/4, but more towards the front. So it doesn't feel like we're looking off to the side. Then here, you could definitely, you need a stronger antic. So get the head down, really prepare. Stretch pose can be stronger, right? Get that down, big stretch. The height looks good. The landing, again, you could make that pose stronger by landing on the edge of the base first. Tilt the head up. And then again, same idea. As we land this way, what we want to do is arc the head around and lead into the next jump. So don't have it just turn like this. You probably need to land a little bit more, lower to the ground, and then arc around and lead into the jump. This feels like we're pointing too far up. I think I would lean a little bit more in the direction we're going. And again, this feels more favoring the profile view. So we want to make sure that we're keeping this a 3/4 view. And that goes for everything, right? So everything feels more 3/4. And this landing, again, you need like a good stretch pose. Again, the same idea. You kind of use the head to kind of arc around and lead with a nice arc up into the next jump. And then here, you're pushing the character too high. I think it'd be good to see them in frames. This is too high, bring it down. Let's see them jump off screen. Okay.
Maybe like half of the body?
Oh yeah, I think so. If you have a really good stretch pose here that leads us this way, so we know, okay, I'm heading this way and I'm jumping. Then when you get to this point, you might still have like the base could be tilted up a little. You could still see the head up here, right? It might be cut off a little bit, but you definitely want that sense that we're going that way. Because here at the end, we don't know if the lamp even survived. The last thing we see is it's here before it gets swallowed up by the ball. Okay. And then once the ball hits the camera, you can trim. You don't need to play blast anymore, right? Because all we have is these dead frames and it feels like the entire energy of the scene just died. So just stop right there.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Adam. Oh, step mode. So here, more blocking, right? Get the poses in there so we don't have an antic. So again, you're here, you need to think of it as a bouncing ball. You got to do your squash, you got to do your stretch, you got to do the point where you're up in the air, then you got to do your stretch, and then your squash, and then the next stretch that leads you over here. So make sure all those points are keyed in properly and that you're not working or not play blasting in spline, okay? Because everything just feels a little bit floaty and weightless here. In step mode, we get crispness, right? So that we have very, very clear ideas and everyone will understand what it's going to feel like. In general, the arcs feel a little bit lopsided. So it feels like this arc feels a bit like this. So I would try to get up a little bit more, balance the arc a little bit. Think about it in terms of 3D space, where you're going to land. Same thing over here. The next one, you could push up a little bit more, really use the depth, get the character up a little bit higher. Okay.
Not sure why my materials didn't populate there. That's really weird.
The texture?
Yeah, because I had the textures on and then I don't know, I must have turned them off by accident.
Hit 6 and just see if they show up. Hopefully they're there.
Yeah, they do. They didn't this morning, but I had to set my project again. So
yeah, that's the trick. Make sure the project is set. Okay, so step mode, again, just focus on the keys, make those keys stronger, and then that'll give you a much better starting point for blocking.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, that's everyone. So I'm going to take a short little break. All right, I'm just going to stop the recording here. And where are we? Recording. Oh my gosh, is it not recording?
Yes, it is.
It is?
After the break, I
There we
will
go.
look at other submissions.
I think I looked at everybody. I asked if anybody had any. And